Neil Warnock saying that Cardiff have looked at, what, about 2,000 players. Now, far be it from me to say that he might be exaggerating a little bit there. However, that we know about the story with Nathaniel Clyne, where he said that he was supposed to be going on to Cardiff on loan. He ended up going to Bournemouth, and Neil Warnock was very unhappy about the way that was handled. But when you are at the bottom of towards the bottom of the table and in a relegation battle, how widely are you casting your net to try and find the right player, do you think?
Not as widely as 2,000 at any time. I don't think I've ever got up to that. Maybe 20, because I'm sure 2,000, there must be some illegal taps in there somewhere.
If there were 2,000, and we're not accusing them of anything.
Listen, he's got great character, and he exaggerates at times, and we've enjoyed that statement. But I think the statement about Clyne, I think it's come right after a game of football. And that's the worst time you can get a manager, when you feel the world's against you at that point. The results no went well. The play you thought was coming has went somewhere else. I've had that happening to me. I've had people. I've done a deal. They've drove up 30 miles first. They've just kept going straight up the road into another club, and you're sitting there waiting. So we get that disappointment. We get that disappointment as managers, and also we start to panic at this time. It's trying to stay above the panic, and not just bring anybody in for the sake of bringing faces in. I've done that once in my career, and it cost me. You've got to stay above that panic and go, right, if I don't get it, the players I want, I'll move players about. At least I know the players I've got here, I can trust and move them about. They might have played a position for a couple of games, but I was advising any manager that do not panic into trying to get something. Try and use the players that you've got there to keep you there, because they want to be there. They don't want to just turn up on loan or whatever. They want to be there, and for some of them, that's the lifestyle. That they have to be successful in this league.
When we look at the teams at the bottom end of the table, what do they need? Look at Huddersfield, for example. David Wagner. What would he be in the transfer market for?
Goals, 100% goals. You look at the top scorer. I think Jorgensen, their centre half, 3 goals. I think that says it all. If your top scorers have got 3 goals, and I think they've only scored, is it 11 maybe, the whole season? Because
the other team goes in the league, you've got to go where they get 2 goals from.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the mindset that if you're a player on the pitch as well, sometimes if you go 1-0 down, you're thinking, well, we're not going to win this game.
The funny thing
Can we just get back into it?
And I think most of the stuff's come from set plays, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying you want goal scorers, but then you actually need somebody to produce passes or goals. Yeah. You can go all the way through. Well, I need a wide one. I need an Ericsson. I need something. You need goals somewhere along it, and it's very, very hard to find goals. Very hard indeed.
Yeah, we were speaking earlier and saying, should they have maybe taken a punt on Defoe? I know, obviously, he's gone to Rangers. Obviously, Rangers are a big club, and he sees the opportunity to score loads of goals in the Scottish League. But maybe if they'd had a punt at him and taken him with Premier League goals and you know, the Premier League table of people with the most amount of goals.
Again, if I did got Defoe now and thinking about, I think he's done all that kind of football, you know, and helped teams in relegation, being in relegation, being the top of the Premier League. So that's been. But I think the chance to go to Rangers, which is completely different. It's a club of 40, 50,000 every game, and there's madness in there. I think for a player, it'd be nice to have to try a wee bit of that. Roy Keane did that at Celtic, just to come along and get the sniff of it and feel part of it, which he enjoyed. Didn't enjoy some of my training at the time, but he enjoyed that thing, and he went along there and found he was in a place where he could be an influence again with the younger players and players in the building. And I think Jermaine's probably thinking the same. I'm going in there getting this excitement, playing this wonderful club, but influencing players again and being back in the limelight again. So maybe that's a wee bit different from.
Or maybe but again at that sort of broader point of maybe an experienced Premier League. Player who you can bring into the club, and that's in a way what Claudio Ranieri's looking for, but not necessarily in terms of a striker. He's looking for leaders. He said, if I don't get a leader in this transfer window, we'll probably be relegated.
I think the big issue for clubs down there is when you're looking for any kind of player, be it a leader, a goal scorer, a defender, whatever you want. It's usually you're having to look at loans with views to permanent, because if you're getting a player that's going to improve your squad, you can't convince him to come maybe from a higher Premier League club to you when you might get relegated. So you almost need to try and loan them, like Cardiff tried to do with Nathaniel Clyne, loan them, and then hopefully they can keep you up. And then maybe the next year you can look at, oh, maybe we'll try and buy them now. But
It's amazing when you're talking about, and I think it was last season, when you're talking about top players and goal scorers, and West Brom got Daniel Sturridge, and you think, what a deal that is.
Yeah.
Didn't work either. You know, so sometimes it mightn't be from buying players in or something like that. There's 5 or 6 teams at the bottom. I think, I would say to the players, who really wants this more than anybody else? Are you got to jump higher? Are you got to run? Are you got to run at the box sometimes and take a chance? You know, are you got to put in a performance today that you've never given before? I think that's what you've got to get the players. And for that, out of the 16, if you're thinking like that, and whoever works the hardest will get out of trouble.
There was a story that was going around that they turned down for them a £50 million bid for Alexander Mitrovic. Is that the difficulty as a manager, that you can suddenly get this huge injection of cash that, if you can spend it, might solve your defensive problems, but then you've lost the goals at the other end? It's that balance.
I wouldn't sell him for 50 million now. Yeah. Absolutely. He's invaluable at the moment, because I think if they lost him, then they'd really struggle. Yeah,
we had a situation at Hull when I was there with Mike Phelan, and we got to January. We'd made a few signings as Mick Phelan on the last day of deadline day in August, but we got to January and Marco came in and took over, and then we sold Robert Snodgrass, sorry, and Jake Livermore. And at that time, Robert Snodgrass had scored and assisted, I think, 70-80% of our goals. So as much as we were able to bring in Grzycki, Ranocchia, Nias, we still lost that from our squad. And I think sometimes when that happens, you lose a key player.
There can be big buys that will keep you up. I remember John Hartson going to West Ham and doing magnificent and doing well and doing really well. And actually come to Coventry, and if I had him 3 months previous, we would have stayed up, because John was magnificent. Just 3 months too late. Oh. There is players out there that can change it, but I think what you be saying as a manager, because you know, you just can't rely on somebody coming in to save you. You've got to do it yourself sometimes. If we can't bring him, we've got to do it. Yeah, it's on us.
Yeah. Mitrovic is an example of the other end with Fulham, what he done last year in terms of getting him up. So if that tells you anything about the character and what he can bring to your side, you definitely don't sell him.
I'd feel a wee bit out if somebody said we need a leader, and you're in the dressing room going, well...
you're in your own bed.
If you were doing that, you're not much of a leader, though, are you, if you're looking at everyone else?
That's right. I just feel a wee bit worried if somebody said that about me. It doesn't say... I think that gave away a wee bit about Fulham there. That it shouldn't have maybe given away like that. You can go looking for these people. They're hard to find. But to say that to the dressing room, they're all now going, well, we're looking for a leader then,
And especially when he says he talks to Tony Khan regularly about transfers. It's not like he has to go through the media to do it. For Southampton, are they in a slightly different position? Hasenhüttl says that, you know, if the players are there and they're exactly right for us, then we'll go and we'll try and get them. Because of the reputation that Southampton have for developing players, are they looking less for the sort of experienced, gritty Premier League warriors that we might have been talking about before, and more for that young player who's looking for an opportunity in the Premier League?
I don't think...
Or is it just more of the same?
Yeah, it's whoever's available. If they're young, they're old, it's whoever's going to put on the shirt and put on the best performance. Because I believe more with Southampton, it's more about Hasenhüttl getting his style across and getting him playing the way he wants to play. I think that's the big thing at the moment, keeping as much of the squad that he can together and trying to improve them as a squad. But ultimately, he probably knows, obviously, the German league more. And if he were to, say, possibly go and buy someone from Germany, that would be a risk in itself, because they might do really well in Bundesliga, but the Premier League's a different animal. So it would be a risk in terms of trying to turn them around in a 6-month period to keep you in the Premier League.
I think it'd be easier for them, because I generally think if they get going, I think they've got enough players to score goals there. I think it's at the back. I've seen them 3 or 4 times live, and I keep thinking, you're doing OK. And then some ridiculous defending comes out. I mean, real individual defending that you think, that's easy. It's, oh, what happened there? And sometimes the breakdown is a back 4 as well. I think he just needs to get... I think with him, I just think 2 centre-backs that can work together, and he should be OK.
Newcastle in an interesting situation, as they always are, in that the club is up for sale. Rafa Benitez is out of contract at the end of the season. If they are going to go into the transfer market at this stage, what kind of assurances is the player going to be looking for? They don't know who's going to be the owner of the club come the end of the season. They don't know who's going to be the manager of the club come the end of the season.
It's a really difficult spot. If they're going to offer him enough money, they might go. That's the way it is. If you say, well, you're going to get this money, whether the manager's here, the owners are here, they might go. But the biggest issue is, are they going to give Rafa the money to spend when they haven't given him his job? And as a player, like you say, if the money was right, yeah, but it must be a difficult thing to look at it and think, well, yeah, he's here for 6 months, but who's going to be next? It could be a manager you've played for before and didn't particularly like or get on with or didn't play for. So it's always very, very difficult.
I think if anybody's earning the money at that club, it's Rafa. I don't know how much he gets paid, but he's earning it because he has to put up with things that I think they made money. They spent less than anybody else, and that's the turmoil they're in. And to manage through this turmoil and keep them up, that's good going, you know, because they've not had a striker as such for a long time that can score goals. They just have to work at everything, you know, and I think whatever happens, I think he gets the most out of players.
Yeah, but Ashley needs to decide, listen, I need the club to be in the Premier League to sell it, so I might need to give him some money to keep us in the Premier League so I can sell it.
I think he's a bit of a gambler. He thinks that he doesn't have to spend anything to keep them in the league. I think what he's saying, I've got one of the best managers in the world, and he will keep my head above water all the time.